Good afternoon. Myself Pawan Kumar Gupta, PGT History from Kendriya Vidyalaya Janakpuri, New Delhi. And students, today we are going to discuss chapter number 18 of our history book of class 12th, that is social changes in the modern India. So students, before starting this chapter, let us have a look on some precautionary measures related to the COVID-19 prevention. So here you can see some do's and don'ts, and if we follow these do's and don'ts, then not only we can save ourselves, but we can save our families, we can save our societies. So we should regularly wash our hands, we should use sanitizers, and we should sneeze or cough into our elbows, we should dispose of the tissues immediately after the use, we should avoid handshaking, we should avoid gathering, and when particularly we are outside of our houses, then we should avoid touching our face. So if we keep all these things in our mind, then we can be safe from COVID-19 pandemic. So students, what we are going to discuss today, that is in brief I am summarizing you. Very first we will see the cultural policies of the Britishers, and then we will discuss the conflict between the Orientalists and the Englishist. Then we will discuss the impacts of British rule on the educated classes in India, and after that we will discuss the rise of modern Indian intelligentsia, then reform movements, after that the growth of Western education in India, and ultimately we will discuss about the growth of press in India. So students, let us start from the topic Orientalists. So what do we mean by Orientalists? So this word has been taken from the word Oriental. And what is the meaning of Oriental? Oriental are those countries which are situated to the east of European countries, just like Africa, just like Arab countries, just like India, China. So all those scholars who study about the Oriental countries, means eastern countries to the Europe, those are known as Orientalists. So here you can see the pictures of Warren Hastings and William Jones, and you can also see the picture of Jonathan Duncan. So these were the very famous and renowned Orientalists, and they wanted to popularize the India and its culture, because they believed that India had a glorious past, and in this way they wanted to propagate the Indian languages and traditions. In the same way, not only they wanted to do it, or through the study of Indian history, Indian culture, Indian religion, Indian languages, they wanted to strengthen the British administration, the British Empire in India. So students, here you can see some of the pictures which were related to the institutions, and these institutions were formed by the early Orientalists during the rule of British East India Company. So very first you can see in the first picture, it is of Calcutta Madrasa, and it was founded by Warren Hastings in 1781. The second picture is of Asiatic Society of Bengal, and it was established by William Jones in 1784. And third one is Sanskrit College at Banaras, and it was founded by Jonathan Duncan in 1794. So students, all these institutions worked a lot for the betterment, for the enrichment and for the translation of not only Indian literature as well as Persian and Arabic literature, Sanskritic literature. So, in this way these institutions started to work. Now, we will talk about the Asiatic Society. This Asiatic Society has been very famous, not only its work, but it has been very famous for its translations of different Indian literatures and of different Indian books. So, as we have already discussed that it was founded by William Jones, and he was a linguist, means he had learned so many languages. In the same way, means he also wanted to connect the Sanskrit language and classical Western languages, because he found some connections between them, because so many words of Sanskrit and so many words of Greek language and Latin languages were very much similar. And the very famous journal or magazine which was published by Asiatic Society, that was Asiatic Researches. In the same way, what we see that another scholar, N.B. Halhed, so N.B. Halhed, he published the Code of Gentoo Laws. So, what do we mean by Code of Gentoo Laws? Code means rule, and Gentoo is particularly related to the Indians or particularly Hindus. So, Hindu manners, Hindu customs, such type of publication was published by this scholar in 1776. So, in this way another we can say college which was established by Lord Wellesley in 1801, and it was Fort William College. So, what we see that in this Fort William College, it not only worked for the training of new recruitees of the British administration, but there were several departments in this college which were fully devoted for the research on Indian languages and Indian literature. Now, students, after seeing it, now we will discuss about the socio-religious reforms. So, what we see that 19th century there was a urge of social and religious reforms which cut across the castes and communities. Means such type of reforms were done in every religion and means in every social group. And if we see all these reforms in the ancient times, so what we see that means during the ancient times so many social reforms were done too. As we can see that in ancient India Upanishadic texts, in the same way Buddhism, Jainism, Vajrayana, Tantrikism, so many groups were there, so many reformers were there who wanted to reform the society. In the same way, if we see during our medieval times, then we also find that Bhakti and Sufi saints, they made popular such type of social reforms. Among them Guru Nanak, Kabir, Mirabai, so many religious and social reformers were there who worked under it. Now, we will see about the Bengal Renaissance. So, what we see that very first we have to understand the word Renaissance. Renaissance means Punarjagaran. Punarjagaran means फिर से जागना. So, it is not means awakening from the slumber, but it is awakening means our mental powers, awakening of our awareness. So, means such type of reforms or Bengal Renaissance had its deep roots within Bengal. And what we see that Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, Vipin Chandra Pal, So many persons were there who made popular this Bengal Renaissance. So we can consider that there were three major factors which influenced the Bengal Renaissance. Very first was the historical rediscoveries. In the same way, second was linguistic and literary modernizations. And third one was social and religious reforms. So what we see that means in all these fields, so many changes were done, and ultimately all these changes led to the social and religious reforms in India, which is particularly known as Bengal Renaissance. So students, what we see that the pioneer of Renaissance in India is considered Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and he was a very notable reformer of not only of Bengal, but we must say that he was the notable reformer of India. In 1814 he established Atmiya Sabha. Then in 1828 it was known as Brahmo Sabha, and ultimately it was known as Brahmo Samaj. So Brahmo means related to the God, related to Ishwar. Brahmo Sabha, Brahmo Samaj means group of such persons who were associated with the God, who wanted to discuss about the God. In the same way, Raja Ram Mohan Rai not only worked in the field of religion, but he also worked in the field of society too. And the very first thing what we see that means he worked a lot for the sati system, and due to his efforts the sati system was formally abolished in 1829, and at that time William Bentinck was the Governor General of India. So students, there is a very interesting thing you should know that in means the family of Raja Ram Mohan Roy himself, this sati system was practiced. When his elder brother was died, then his sister-in-law और जो भाभी उनकी जो थी means she was forced to be sati, and you all know that sati was a very means cruel social evil of India. In the starting means ladies they wanted to be sati if they wanted, then they means burnt themselves with the pyre of their husbands. But what we see means after that they were forced to be burnt with the means dead body of their husbands. So it was a big change in India, in the society, and particularly for the women. In the same way, what we see that Raja Ram Mohan Roy he also condemned polygamy. Polygamy means बहु विवाह, एक से ज़्यादा विवाह करना. In the same way, Raja Ram Mohan Roy also advocated modern education, and he established English school and Vedanta College in 1825. So in this way we can see that he was not only associated, or he did not want only Indians to learn English, but he was also associated with our culture too. In the same way he believed in the concept of one God, यानी एक ईश्वर में विश्वास करना, and in this way he wanted to minimize the differences within the Indian society, because Indians they follow so many gods and goddesses. He also opposed the idolatry. Idolatry means मूर्ति पूजा. उन्होंने मूर्ति पूजा का विरोध किया. In the same way he found Upanishads as the basis of the true Hinduism. So means in this way what we see that Raja Ram Mohan Roy he worked in various fields. He not only worked in the fields of religion, but also he reformed the society. Students, now we will describe about the role of Devendranath Tagore. So what we see that after the death of Raja Ram Mohan Roy in 1833, Devendranath Tagore joined Brahmo Samaj in 1842 and he wrote the Brahmo Covenant. What was Brahmo Covenant? Means the duties and the obligations, means the rules and regulations related to the Brahmo Samaj. Now we will talk about the very famous religious and social reformer related to the Brahmo Samaj, and he was Keshav Chandra Sen. So Keshav Chandra Sen not only spread the ideas of Brahmo Samaj within Bengal, but he also spread these ideas outside the Bengal. In the same way, means he did a lot to reform the society. He attacked on the caste system. He underlined the rights of women, that women should have the equal rights. He means wanted to promote widow remarriage. In the same way, Keshav Chandra Sen, he also objected the caste status of Brahmo preachers. Means at that time, most of the teachers or preachers in the Brahmo Samaj were related to Brahman community. So he objected it, he opposed it, and he advocated that these preachers should be from all the communities. In the same way, he also wanted to underline the idea of universalism of religion. It means that in the religion everybody should be equal. In 1866, Brahmo Samaj was formally divided into two branches. Adi Brahmo Samaj, it was headed by Devendranath Tagore, and Brahmo Samaj of India, it was headed by Keshav Chandra Sen. So in this way, means the role of Keshav Chandra Sen is very prominent to do so many reforms in India. Students, now we will talk about a very famous scholar of Bengal, and he was Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. So Vidyasagar was his title because he had so many scholastic qualities, and he worked a lot in the area of widow remarriage, and due to his efforts, Widow Remarriage Act was passed in 1856, and when this act was passed, now widows had right to remarriage. As we discussed about the sati system, in the same way the condition of widows was very much we can say miserable in our Indian society. They had to live we can say aloof life. They had to live a separate life. They were discriminated not only in the society but their own families too. But when this act was passed, now women had right to remarry again, and in this way a large number of women they were now married, and they made their life more easier than it was before. And not only it, he also set its example when his son Narayan, who married to a widow. In the same way, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar also worked in the area of girl child education, and he helped to establish many schools for the girl child with the help of his friend. He was Bethune. In the same way, what we see that girl child marriage, and he also opposed the polygamy. Polygamy means Bahuvivaha. So in this way, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he worked a lot for it and for social reforms. Students, now we will talk about the Ramakrishna Mission, and this Ramakrishna Mission was founded by Swami Vivekananda. Welcome back learners after the break. So, we were talking about the Ramakrishna Mission and Vivekananda. So, what we see that Vivekananda has been a great reformer of India, and he not only means done in the work of India or Indian religion, but he spread Hinduism and Indian culture particularly in America and in European countries. So, Vivekananda was born on 12th of January 1863, and very recently, means a day before yesterday, we have celebrated our National Youth Day, and this day is being celebrated from 1985 in India, and the theme means of National Youth Day this year was Yuva Utsaha Ne Bharat Ka. So, he means recognized Gangadhar Chatterjee or Swami Ramakrishna Paramhans as his guru, and it is very famous. You all know that on 11th of September 1893 he addressed the Parliament of World Religions or World Religious Parliament. So, in this parliament his initial remarks, "My dear sisters and brothers of America," was applauded and was appreciated very much, and through means this World Parliament of Religions and his stay in so many means American places and European countries, he spread the Indian culture and the ideas of Hinduism there. In the same way, when he returned to India, then he established Ramakrishna Mission at Vellore. Vellore is a place near Kolkata. So, he established it in 1897, and Swami Vivekananda was died in a very, we can say, youth age. He was died only in the age of 40 years in 1902. So, students, we can see the some we can say ideas which was promoted by Swami Vivekananda. So, Swami Vivekananda has been a very practical saint, and he opposed the degeneration in the religion, manifold divisions, and he also opposed the caste rigidities in India, the practice of untouchabilities he opposed. In the same way, he did not consider any type of superstitions. In the same way, means he considered that Hindu subject or particularly Indians were the subject race, means they were under the domination of Britishers only due to their ignorance. And once he told a very famous story of a lion. So, what he told, that a lion, that lion was means brought up among the lambs. So, he means that lion started to behave just like the lambs. That lion forgot to means roar, that lion forgot to prey the animals. So, once another lion saw that particular lion, and he means recalled all the inbuilt strength means to that lion, and after that means that lion behaved just like a lion, not a lamb. So, through this story Swami Vivekananda wanted to teach Indians that you all are lions, right? Every Indian has so many powers within themselves, and the need to awake those powers. So, in this way Swami Vivekananda played a very important role in Indian Renaissance. Now, we will see the Prarthana Samaj. Prarthana Samaj was formed in the Western India, and it was just like the Brahmo Samaj. and what we have already discussed about Keshav Chandra Sen. So the same Keshav Chandra Sen helped means in founding the Prarthana Samaj in 1867. So Prarthana Samaj means the group of people who means performed the Prarthana. In the same way, students, here we can trace the role of Deccan Education Society. So Deccan Education Society spread the education and Indian religion and culture in the Western India for a very long time, and it was established in 1884, and the main leader of it was Mahadev Govind Ranade. The main works of Prarthana Samaj, they denounced the idolatry. Idolatry means Murti Puja, worshipping of idols. In the same way, they also opposed the priestly domination over the society, means the domination or control of Brahmins over the society. They also opposed the caste rigidities in India or discriminations among the caste, and they wanted to prefer the monotheism. Monotheism means the worship of one God. They were also very much influenced by the ideas of Christianity and Buddhism. Now students, we will talk about another very profound movement held in India during this time, and it was Arya Samaj movement. This movement was founded by Dayanand Saraswati. So his childhood name was Mool Shankar, and there is a very famous event of his childhood, that in his childhood Dayanand Saraswati went in a temple of Lord Shiva, and there he saw that one rat was on the idol of Lord Shiva. So he thought that when this god is not able even to run that mouse, then means this type of idolatry or worshipping of idols is not good, it is not proper. So he opposed the idolatry. In the same way, he in 1875 he wrote a very famous book, that was Satyarth Prakash, means the light of truth, and this book was based on Vedas. In the same way, he also found in the same year Arya Samaj in Bombay, and still this Arya Samaj is working in many parts of India. Now we will see some of the works and ideologies of Arya Samaj and Swami Dayanand. So what we see, that Dayanand Saraswati considered that only Vedas were the only analytical tools and only Vedas were truth. He attacked on Puranas, polytheism. Polytheism means बहुदेववाद, बहुत सारे देवताओं की पूजा करना. In the same way, he also opposed idolatry, Murti Puja, which we have already discussed about it, domination of priestly classes. He opposed the child marriage. He also opposed the multiplicity means within the society, within the caste, and he considered that means so many Hindus who were converting into Christianity, who were converting into Muslim religion or Buddhism, and the main reason for this conversion was the multiplicity or the discrimination within the caste. So he started a very famous movement regarding it, and it is known as Shuddhi movement. So this Shuddhi movement was basically the movement related to reconversion of those people, particularly those Hindus who were converted into other religions. In the same way, the main role of Dayanand Saraswati was that he allowed the lower caste people in Arya Samaj for worshipping. He adopted Hindi as the medium to spread his ideas, and that's why what we see, that his movement became very popular, particularly in the Hindi belts. or particularly in the North India very soon. In the same way, Dayanand Saraswati also established Anglo-Vedic colleges. So, DAV colleges, Dayanand Anglo-Vedic colleges. So, here we can see that not only he was the supporter of Anglo, Anglo means English, and Vedic, Vedic means related to the old customs, old traditions and old culture of India. So, he wanted to educate the youths of India in both English as well as in our old traditions. Now, we will talk about the Munshi Ram or Swami Shraddhanand, who established the Gurukul at Kangdi in Haridwar. So, Swami Shraddhanand was the supporter of means Gurukul system. He means did not like the Anglo-Vedic system, means he did not like that students should be given the modern education or such type of means English education. So, he established the Gurukul system in India, and means due to it in 1893 this Arya Samaj was divided into two groups, DAV group and Gurukul group. In the same way, in 1902 Swami Shraddhanand or Munshi Ram, he founded this Gurukul Kangdi in means Haridwar. Students, now we will see the reform movements within the Muslims. So, what we see that during the revolt of 1857, Muslims fought along with the Hindus, and they were also punished severely as well as Hindus. But after it there were so many scholars, so many we can say intellectuals within the Muslim community, and they considered that Muslims cannot fight with the Britishers. Rather, if they support the Britishers, then means Muslim community can make progress. And means these changes were also due to two very important reasons. One was that was transfer of power. But we see that before the commencement of Britishers, Mughals were ruling over India, and now that power was shifted to the Britishers. Second one was the replacement of Persian language, means by the English language, and now English became the language of employment. So, most of the Muslim leaders, they thought that now Muslims should know, they should learn English, and Muslim community should be modernized. So, that means the upliftment of Muslim community should be there. So, many movements were started within the Muslims, and a very famous movement, initial movement, that was Faraji movement. And this Faraji movement was established by or founded by Shariatullah. The main motive of this Faraji movement was to regain the purity of Islam, means whatever the Islam and its ideas were, means Muslims should follow in the true sense. This was the Faraji movement. Another very famous movement which is still very famous in India, that is Devband movement. And Devband is a place, means in Saharanpur district in Uttar Pradesh, and there in Devband, Darul Uloom Devband or Devband Seminary was established in 1867. So, what we see that Muhammad Qasim Nonatvi and so many other Muslim leaders, they founded this seminary at Devband, and even today it is working for the welfare of the Muslims. Students, now we will talk about the Sayyid Ahmad Khan. So, Sayyid Ahmad Khan had been such a scholar who wanted that Muslims should be modernized, and they only means be modernized through the modern education. So he was the supporter of modern education for the Muslims. In 1866 he established British Indian Association and Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental Educational Conference. In the same way, in 1875 he founded Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, and nowadays students, this college is known as very famous Aligarh Muslim University. So now we talked about the religious reforms within the Hindus, we talked about the religious reforms among the Muslims. So what were the impacts of these religious reforms? So these religious reforms affected the whole society, whole India in a very deep sense. So many we can say outcomes of these reforms were there. So let us learn some of them. Very first, such type of social reforms means promoted the self-respect among the Indians, and at that time what we see that the self-respect and self-confidence of Indians was it's at low level, सबसे low level. In the same way, these reforms motivated Indians to participate in the freedom struggle, and these reforms also motivated for the nationalism. In the same way, promoted the modern education among the Indians and women education. As we have seen, so many reformers were there who worked a lot for the women and women education. And through these reforms, the social and cultural reforms were there, means in the area of society, in the area of religion and culture, means so many changes took place, and these changes affected the whole society, means in a very deep rooted manner. In the same way, these reforms means decreased the caste based discriminations, and they also means preferred, and they also brought the political awareness among the Indians. But students, there was means some of the drawbacks of these reforms too, and the main drawback of these reforms was the polarization among the communal lines, means polarization or dividing between the Hindus and Muslims on the basis of religions. So this had been some of the drawbacks. Now students, we will see the next topic of your chapter is the rise of Western education in India. So through this Western education, Britishers wanted to establish British rule very deeply in India. They wanted to strengthen their roots in India. So very first we will see the English Education and Charter Act of 1813. So what is the Charter Act? Charter Act means we can see that time to time British Parliament passed so many acts to regulate the activities of East India Company in India. So these were known as Charter Act. So one of the Charter Act which was passed in 1813, so very first it allowed Christian missionaries to travel in India, to propagate in India, and when these Christian missionaries came to India, they established English schools. So in this way, English means started to be spread in India. In the same Charter Act, now there was a question, and what was that question? That Britishers wanted to spend rupees 1 lakh per year on the education of Indians. So what type of this education should be? It was a very big question before the administrators, particularly the administrators of British East India Company in India. So here we will discuss the role of Lord Macaulay. So what we see that T.B. Macaulay, Thomas Babington Macaulay and means his decisions that impacted the Indian society and India in a very deep manner. So, Miss T.B. Macaulay was appointed as the President of General Committee of Public Instructions, and there were two basic questions before this committee. First question was whether European literature and sciences should be taught to Indians or Indian subjects should be taught to Indians. Number second question was what should be the medium of instruction, whether students should be taught in English medium or through Indian languages. So, on these issues this committee discussed, and ultimately on 2nd February 1835 Macaulay presented its report, which is known as Macaulay Minute. So, this Macaulay Minute is very famous in Indian history because it established the we can say the English education in India, and in the same way through this English education the British or European subjects and British or European sciences were being taught to the Indians. Now, we will see that what were the views of Macaulay towards the Indians. So, through English he wanted to create a class of Indians in blood and color, but English in taste. In the same way he also wanted to create the we can say large number of clerks in India, which would support and strengthen the British administration in India. He also established downward filtration theory. What was this downward filtration theory? Means the amount which was being to be spent on Indian education was not more. So, Lord Macaulay said that Britishers would educate only few Indians, and through those few Indians the education will percolate, it would be transferred to the other Indians downward. So, it is known as downward infiltration or filtration theory. So, in this way the Macaulay and his reports, Macaulay Minute, affected the Indian education very much. Students, now we will see about the another very important step towards the English education in India, that is Wood's Dispatch. And this Wood's Dispatch is named after Charles Wood, who was the Secretary of States at that time, and it was presented in 1854. So, what we see that it firmly put the European model and English language, particularly at the higher level. Through this Charles Wood or Wood's Dispatch, what we see that hierarchy of schools were established at the village level, means or primary level. The education was to be given in vernacular languages or local languages. At the high school level, the medium of instruction should be Anglo vernacular, means English and local languages, and at the college level it should only be English. In the same way, what we see that through this Charles Dispatch in 1857 universities of Calcutta, Bombay and Madras were established. So, in this way vocational education, in the same way technical schools and colleges, training institutes for the teachers were also established through this Charles Dispatch. Now, we will see students about Hunter Commission, right. So, this Hunter Commission was established in 1882 and it was for the review of Wood's Dispatch, right. So, under this Hunter Commission, the main thing were two universities were established. Punjab University in 1882 and Allahabad University in 1887. So, now we will see the press in India. So, means very first newspaper which was started in India, that was Bengal Gazette, and it was published very first in India in 1780, right. So, time to time Britishers, they imposed so many restrictions, but means some British officers were there who wanted to means such type of view, or who were of this view that press should be free. So, Charles Metcalfe was one of the British officers, and he given so many concessions to Indian press, and in this way press was promoted in India. But the serious restrictions were made in 1878 through Vernacular Press Act. Vernacular means local press, local languages. So, local language newspapers were means restricted through this Vernacular Press Act, which was imposed by Lord Lytton. So, students, means in this chapter we learned so many things. We learned the cultural policies, we learned about the we can say British rule in India and the spread of education, British education, rise of modern Indian intelligentsia. We also talked about so many social reforms and social reformers in India. In the same way, we also discussed about the growth of Western education and growth of press in India. So, that was all about today's chapter. Hope you all understood this chapter well, and you also noted down all the important things. So, students, will meet again, will see you again with the next chapter, and till then goodbye, means take care against the coronavirus and take care about yourself and about your families. Thank you.